Can you spend most of your day trapped inside a huge iron appliance? Of course it is a tedious and bitter experience, but you know that there are a large number of people who are quite accustomed to it. Paul Alexander was one of those who kept a huge iron system for more than 60 years. Paul Alexander suffered from the rare Bolio virus in 1952, the cause of polio and muscle relaxation and weakness, since he was a child at the age of 5. Which resulted in the subsequent dependence on the weakness of his breathing, because of the suffering of his muscles and inability to extend the body force necessary to withdraw oxygen. So forced Paul since childhood, the use of the iron lung device to help him breathe. By creating an environment of oxygen around him, which drives him to breathe almost normally, in some cases of paralysis, chest loses muscle movement and patients are at risk of suffocation, because they could not get enough air for their lungs. The use of iron lung with this disease helps to breathe. The iron lung is a large metal tank connected to a pump that changes the amount of air inside the tank and compress it. The patient lies inside the tank and only the head is left. There is a rubber roll around the neck preventing air leakage. The pump pulls the air from the tank between 15 and 30 times during 1 minute, and then raises the patient's chest to enter the air through the nose and mouth. The 70-year-old Paul spent most of his 64-year-old day in an artificial respirator, and it was interesting that Paul did not give up his health crisis throughout his life, but was able to study law at the University of Texas, becoming a well-known lawyer. For years, Paul learned how to breathe for a while outside the iron lung system, which enabled him to perform important practical successes. Away from the apparatus Paul describes as, "For me it is a prison, but also like a cocoon I can never do without." Despite the difficult life Paul experienced, in 2015, this American man discovered that the hardest was not yet when his iron lung system began to damage. Originally an old device that had been discontinued since 1960, here Paul did not surrender to the circumstances, but resorted to the recording of a short video describing his suffering, and published it on YouTube, saying that he spent his life relying on the device of the lung iron, which needs spare parts or no longer manufactured for a long time, and asked anyone working in the repair of the devices to try to save the situation, which has already happened, as the video accidentally, to one directors of major environmental laboratories, who was able to repair the device in his lab, to restore Paul's chance of survival again, which was a miracle, where the man did not find throughout his life the person who can deal with this device by. Paul was not alone. There were many similar cases around him, such as Martha Mason, an extraordinary human being, who spent more than 61 years of her life in the artificial lung organ after she became paralyzed. She is 11 years old as a result of polio. Despite her poor state of health, she lived and read his life, graduating from high school and university with honors, and even wrote a book entitled Breathing Life in the Rhythm of an Iron Lung, its superiority and the challenges it faced in life. In the mid-1990s, Martha began her writing career, but this time using a computer that runs the audio through its internet connection. She soon began to compose her book, which she gave to her mother. It is iron will, self-belief and optimism that make a person succeed after believing in God Almighty.